The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Whether you're new to sales or a lifetime veteran, the Blackbelt Sales Podcast will sharpen your sword and guide you to master the art of sales. And now, here's your host, the ninja himself, Gene Slade.
Hey, welcome back. If you're joining us live today, please press the 1 button down in the comments. Just put a 1 down in the comments, please. And if you are joining us on a replay, please put a 3 down in the comments. Super stoked to have my now friend, Luke Claypool, on the show. What's up, Luke? Thank you for joining us today. How's the weather out where you're at in Reno?
Windy. Very windy.
Is it cold?
No, not really. 25 today, high of 45. Well, I guess where you are, that's cold.
That's freaking cold, man. Yeah, it was. I think it was like 76 this morning on my my walk. So yeah, did we hit the live button on Instagram? I hope we did. You don't have to answer me, but I just wanted to remind the team. Cool. So Luke, how old are you?
I'm 28. Well, we'll be
28 years old. And did you grow up out in the Reno area? Where did you grow up?
In Reno. Yep.
Tell me a little bit about your childhood. Who was little Luke?
I was a little shit. I'm not gonna lie. I got into a lot of trouble. I was kind of troubled. Not so to the point where I'm getting arrested or anything, but I was definitely a terror to my parents.
Okay.
Went to high school, barely graduated high school by the skin of my teeth. Made it out into the field. I was going to go into the military, and it didn't work out that way. And so I had to go figure something else out. I went through a good year of depression trying to figure out what I needed to do and where that was. By 19, I was in working warehouse, just odd jobs, kind of trying to get going. And then I started in sheet metal, doing that kind of work. I worked in plumbing for a little while. I worked in electrical for a little while, welded for a little bit, and finally landed in HVAC thanks to my great mentor. His name is Chad Clark. Taught me how to do the trade from top to bottom, everything you could possibly know. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. So started on install, and I was like, I'm a little too smart for this. I want to do more. I want to fix things. And so I moved over to service, and I was making.
Wait a minute. How old were you when you found HVAC?
20. Gosh, so I've been doing this 5 years now. So it would have been 23.
Okay.
6 years.
Cool.
So 22.
All right. And then, so how long did you spend in install?
2 years.
Okay. And then what was that? How did you transition out? How did you make that happen?
Well, I couldn't do it with the company I was currently working at. So I moved companies and got the position there. They trained me for a little bit. I didn't understand the whole selling part of it. It was when I first started in service, I was under the mentality, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's no sense in touching it. Clean it up, get out of there, take your $100 and go. But, it wasn't until I started talking with Dustin a lot more, who's another great friend and in the mastermind as well. And he was telling me that, if you actually want to make money, you got to sell something. You got to learn how to do it.
All right. So before we get too ahead of ourselves,
Sorry.
So you're 2 years or so, and then you have to switch companies in order to get into service. Gosh, I wish I hadn't heard that story like 1,000 times. Why is it, business owners, that we're so stubborn sometimes that we have to lose a valuable asset that then we'll have to go pay to replace when we could have just transitioned them over, right? So really sad story there, but it happens. So 2 years install-ish, and then you get into the service side. So you're doing that for about 2.5, almost 3 years maybe before you and I meet, because we didn't meet
Yeah.
until what was it, last October?
Yeah, it was October 2024.
How long has that been? So October. What do you remember the dates?
It was during the Tennessee Mansion event, so that would have been, I think, October 3rd and 4th. Or
Okay.
3rd?
All right. So all of October, November, December, and January. So we've known each other just over 4 months. Okay.
Mhm.
Cool. So those 2.5 years or so of doing service, what did a typical day look like for you? How many calls were you running? How did you feel about your job and your interactions with your clients? And what kind of money were you making?
I haven't made more than $50,000 a year before all of that. 50,000 was pretty much the most I ever made. I think that's like 30.
Up until last October?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Mhm.
And how many calls a day would you run?
8.
Oh, wow. And then how did you feel about your interactions with your clients?
It was brief. I mean, I'm maybe there for hour, 45 minutes. So the interaction was, hi, I'm Luke. I'm here to fix your system. Show up, clean the system, or service your system. Show up, service the system, collect the service payment, and leave. I didn't understand to keep going.
What's that?
I didn't understand, to keep going. If this issue starts here, it's probably underlined over here.
Got it. So essentially, we joke about this sometimes, but a parts changer, right? You go out, you find a part. This part is definitely bad. We don't look at anything beyond that because the office has got 7 calls lined up behind us. How many of you technicians out there are experiencing this right now? Put down, if you would, please, put down in the comments, how many calls are you guys running a day on average? I'm not talking about even right now, because right now, if you're in HVAC, it's probably a little bit slower, depending on your area. But how many calls a day are you guys running? Okay, so Luke, one more question about that. Like, can you say anything else about how you felt about your interactions with your clients and your job as a whole?
I'd liken it to more of like just me being a cashier ringing them up at a gas station. I was just a small little blip on their radar for 45 minutes every year, and then I'm off to go do my own thing. So I really couldn't. I mean, obviously there's going to be some bad interactions with customers, but it was never anything personal. It was never down. There was never a connection there or anything like that.
Got it. You married?
Yes.
Kids?
Yeah, I am too. One on the way.
I know all this and everything, but this is for the show.
I know.
Cool. How long you been married?
3 years.
3 years. And his wife, by the way, did let him go to the mansion, guys.
She sure did.
I have some guys who I'm probably gonna piss some people off here. But look, if your wife keeps you from going to better yourself, the mistake you made was far before you ever heard this program. I can promise you that. There's no replacement for a supportive partner. And the only reason that I'm able to do the things that I'm able to do today is because I've got a loving and supportive wife, and she comes with me everywhere. Right. So awesome. So fast forward, you met Dustin. Tell me about you and Dustin, because Dustin's also in our program, and you and he came out to the mansion at the same time.
Yeah, we actually went out there together. Dustin and I worked at a place called Lincoln Heating and Air out here. He was the service or the install manager, and I was just a service tech. Caught him randomly. He saw me at one of my calls doing a maintenance, and he started working for the company I'm currently at. And he's like, dude, you got to come out. We're starting out. It's a greenfield. I didn't see a downside of leaving the company I was currently at because I was a maintenance tech. I wasn't going anywhere. So I left and I went over to that greenfield company, and he started teaching me a lot about, how to sell something to a customer, how to look through a system a little more thorough to find the underlying issues in the system.
This is right after Dustin and I met, right?
This would have been April 2024.
Okay, got it.
So Dustin then came up to me one day I don't remember when he came up, but he was like, dude, I found this new process. This guy's legit. Let's start trying some of this methods. So we started doing our prioritized lists, not necessarily the way you do it, because I got really corrected at the mansion. But we started doing that, and that really helped, bring the customer to the table, understand what's going on, and then, next step to the sale. And that really helped. Then it was, God, I want to say August or September, Dustin asked, dude, they have this great event. Let's try and go out there. I'm going, you should go too. And it took a small 20-minute conversation with my wife saying, think this is what I have to do in order to take that next step up. And she was in.
So you and Dustin ended up splitting a room. You gave me $10,000. You came out to the mansion. You sat through the event for 2 days. Mm-hmm. And what was that like for you?
It's kind of hard to describe. It was surreal because we were in such a nice mansion. It almost felt like you were dreaming a little bit. But then, when you're sitting down and you're in those meetings, it's 9 hours of hard, intense training. But it's your whole process. It's everything. It's not these little bits and pieces. You can pay a little bit more and I'll give you a little bit more of my secret kind of thing. It's all up front and there. And then, there's late nights when you're at the mansion and everybody's just, it's like a melting pot of really good ideas. It's incredible.
And a lot of time studying together. It was really cool. I'll never forget that event because it was the biggest mansion event we'd ever had. We had over 70 people there, and people just paired up and they were role playing and studying shit. And very, very successful event. So you and Dustin spend the time there at the mansion. You head back home. What starts to happen for you? And first of all, what perspective shift? Give me one perspective shift that you picked up from that time at the event. And by the way, guys, next event is April 5th and 6th. If you want more information on it, put the word April down in the comments. Okay. April 5th and 6th is the next live event. It's not at a mansion, but it's all the same material that Dustin got, or not Dustin and Luke got. Mm-hmm. So what's one perspective or mindset shift that happened for you at the mansion?
Before the mansion, I was making hourly because I wasn't selling anything. So I was worried about what I could afford. I look at $300 capacity. Well, $300, that's ridiculous. I wouldn't pay for that. But it's not about what I can afford is what I realized. It's about what we can do to help the customer feel comfortable in their home, to live better in their home, to not have the allergies in their home. The biggest thing was, air scrubbers and breathe easies. I thought they were a hoax, truly. And
sure.
Then,
listen, I take a lot of heat all over the internet. You see it, right?
Oh yeah.
There's tons of guys out there that don't think that air scrubbers and UV lights and shit like that work. So you weren't alone. Continue.
Mm-hmm. But you do the research and you do the added work to help out your client because that's what they're calling you out there for. And I come across incredibly valuable information just doing that. So it's more of not thinking about what I could afford, but what the customer would want or need in their home. I ended up leaving the mansion event, and Dustin and I had an hour layover in Denver. And in the walk back from one plane to the next to go wait, I ended up closing a $22,000 mini split sale, $20-something thousand mini split sale, just using your methods I learned at the mansion.
Wow.
On the way back.
That's so funny because that probably paid for like 40% of your cost of the ticket. That one deal. That's hilarious, man. I love it. Cool. So you get back and you go back to work. What's different? Did you slow down? Did you speed up? What was different about your approach when you got back?
I'd like to say everything's different. I did not care too much about my appearance. As you can see, I have a very large beard. It was even larger before all of this. Mm-hmm. I didn't care about the shirt I wore. I wore a company polo that was covered in, silicone and Pookie and all kinds of stuff. And I just show up to the customer's house like that because that's what a technician looks like. Well, I realized that that's not it. You got to keep an eye on how you look. People don't like somebody grungy coming into their home. People don't like somebody who stinks coming into their home. So I really made an effort on that. I don't go stinking into a customer. I keep clean clothes in my van at all times now.
Did we clean you up at the mansion?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think you had, his name was Nemo out there.
Yeah.
Awesome guy. So
for those of you that don't know, it's very common for me to bring some of my barbers out to these mansion events because, look, I mean, how many of you actually get your hair cut every week or two? Is appearance important? Do people judge you? Can you see how being sloppy would cost you money? And you guys are running from call to call to call. You're usually working when other people are not working, which means that you're wanting to get home to your families. So you just don't get groomed enough. Owners out there, you should bring a barber into your office once a week. Just select a day for 2 or 3 hours, have them come in and clean your guys up, right? So I have these really, really great barbers come in and they clean these guys up and give them transformations. And Luke was one of those. And you left looking sharp, dog. I mean, sharp.
I sure did. We all did. He was working night and day.
I think he cut like 62 heads or something like that in the 2 days. He's fast. All right. So you went back looking good, feeling good. What does Dion say? When you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you play good. When you play good, they pay good. So you go back. You cared more about your appearance. Tell us what else life began to look like and what happened. What happened afterwards?
It all began to change. I mean, I started following your process and doing it, the way that we were taught at the mansion, and my sales doubled, literally doubled. My closing rate doubled.
In what amount of time?
The same week I got back almost.
Okay.
It was almost instant.
Okay.
But it was more time spent with the customer. So I was working until 9-10 o'clock at night. So we had to tune that back a bit and learn, I can only run at most 4 calls a day and be able to keep the revenue going. And it's been life-changing to say the least. My wife calls it the phantom income that we have because it's almost like there's another person adding on and contributing to the household.
Yeah. So can you quantify this with numbers for me, like some sort of numbers before and afterwards?
Yeah. So I started working at Legacy in April. From April to October, I did $230,000 in system and equipment sales.
Is that 5 months or 6 months?
We'll call it 6 months.
6 months. How much? 220?
230.
230. Got it.
From October till the end of the year in January, I did $734,000.
Wait, October, November, December, in 3 months, 700 and something. Oh God! Wow. Well,
yeah.
There you go, guys. So in 3 months as opposed to 6 months, so 230 in 6 months and 700 and what in 3 months?
734.
$734,000 in 3 months. Oh my gosh, that's like 8x. That's like 8x.
Almost 3.5.
No. I mean, because you got to take into account that it was done in half the time.
Oh yeah.
Right. So the numbers are massive. I mean, so it's about 7x really if you think about it instantly.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap!
My closing rate before I came in was 20% from April to October, and October to January is 46.
So we definitely got some work to go there. But holy shit. So you must have had, excuse the language, I don't know, they might have to bleep me out. I almost don't even know what to say, man.
It's, new homes that were getting rebuilt, ductwork that needs to be replaced, full systems that are inefficient, and they don't want the same inefficient system put back in. They wanted to update the efficiencies. I mean, Water filtration, I've sold, I think, 2 of those, and upgrading to tankless water heaters. I'm trying to figure out how to sell electrical panels a little bit more, but that's not really my area of expertise.
Mhm.
So, but
Wow.
it's all possible, and it's all in that PDF you give us just for going to the class. It's all there.
Oh, the digital manual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, guys, when you come out to these events, you do get a manual. Okay. And I think that you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Luke, but in my opinion, one of the biggest differences between our sales system and all the other sales systems that are out there is we actually do tell you and show you exactly what to say, right?
Yeah.
So many sales training companies out there want you to ask questions, or sales trainers, they tell you ask questions, but they don't tell you what kind of questions to ask. They don't tell you a formula for asking questions. They don't teach you any of that stuff. So we actually literally not only teach you what to say, but we teach you the formula of how we created it so that you can go out and create it for any product that you want, that you bring on in the future. And I think that's the biggest difference. You're not winging it when you are using our system. Wow.
It's like selling a 18-year-old kid a stick shift and just throwing him in the car and say, good luck. No,
Yeah.
you go in the car with them. You help him. You run through the gears. You teach him how to shift properly.
So, dude, you were essentially doing about $460,000 to $500,000 in revenue a year. And you came out of the mansion, and in 3 months, you're tracking at $3 million in sales. Holy crap. And Luke won't tell you this, and I hope I don't get him in trouble, but there have been many, many weeks at his company. I think there's 7 or 8 other technicians there. Many, many weeks when Luke's revenue has been more than the entire company's other technicians' revenue combined. I remember they actually asked him I think they said, didn't they say to you, I think you need to slow down and stop selling so much?
we had a little conversation with that, but we have another technician, and I think this is the biggest thing, is that there's competition. I have another tech that I work with. His name is Rich, and he doesn't use your process, but he's a great salesman too. So trying to combat and level up him, it's made me better.
Good. Yeah. I mean, iron sharpens iron, man.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you can get somebody else to compete with you, it's going to push everybody. It's a good thing. Wow. Well, Luke, is there any advice that you could give people out there that maybe were in your position, back in October? Wow.
I say it all the time, and my dad, he's always had these stupid little dadisms or idioms or whatever. And there was one that always stuck with me, and I never understood it, for a very long time. But life moves fast for those who participate. Plain and simple.
What does that mean to you?
It means participating in everything, giving it your 100% in everything that you do. And when you're going to a customer's house, you're giving them all of your attention. When you're studying, you're giving it all of your attention. You're giving it your all and all of your effort. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing 100%.
So that brings up another really good question. So people out there might be thinking, how much time has Luke had to invest in himself outside of work hours to get this? So
all the time.
Obviously you came to the mansion and you spent essentially 1, 2, maybe 3 nights there, right? Was it 3 nights? So you spent 3 nights at the mansion with us. So you probably had 30 hours invested in that trip at least. Outside of that, how many hours do you think you've had to spend studying to get where you're at?
I don't stop studying. I have audiobooks that are on repeat of all of the suggested books that you have. I have, my iPad.
In our reading list, in the back of the manual, the reading list?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Got it. Okay.
I've got that. I've been going through your whole reading list. I've been going through the manual. I'm home at 7:00 most nights, so it's pretty late, but I'll spend at least 30 minutes reading your training, going over it again and again and again until it's cemented. And
Okay.
I spent probably 2 weeks sick where I didn't study, and I came back and I had my ass handed to me because I didn't keep up on it.
You get rusty really quick, don't you?
You do.
Super important. Daily training, super important, guys. I'm reading daily now too, and I can count, I think, just about on both hands how many books I've read in my life just to read books, just to read them. Right? I'd pick one up and I'd start it. I get a chapter or two through, and I have a difficult time sometimes staying in the book. My mind will drift off, and I'll read a whole page and go, "Shit, I got to go read it again." But I think I'm at 4 or 5 books for the year already. And it's making a massive difference in my life. Studying what other people have done to get where you want to be, massive, guys. So many of you stop learning when you get out of high school or when you get out of college. That's when the real learning begins. That's when the real world comes to kick your ass. So, Luke, you've been with me now for let's call it 15 or 16 weeks. If somebody else wanted to do what you have done and they came to our event, how much time on a weekly basis do you think that you would tell them, if you were mentoring them, that they're going to need to invest to get to where you're at?
I'd say at least an hour a day. Minimum.
An hour a day, 5 days a week?
Mm-hmm.
Got it. So about 5 hours a week. You're going to have to find 5 hours a week. Could you guys find 5 hours a week to sell $3 million a year, like starting tomorrow? And because that's the reality, that's what we're talking about. And guys, if you don't, none of you have any excuses now. You've seen somebody practical right here in front of you that is telling you his story and how fast this has happened for him. And look, there are people out there that are doing twice what Dustin's doing that are in our group as well. They've been with us longer, right? And that will be Dustin in probably 3 or 4 months because he's spending an hour a day investing in himself.
It will be Dustin, but I'm Luke.
Fuck, man. I get the two of you mixed up, the name for some reason, because I don't know why, because you're friends or something.
That's all right.
Anyhow, I'm retarded. Shit. So guys, look, if you want information on that April event, put April down in the comments. I should never use this to promote something, but I keep telling people this is the least expensive tickets we've ever sold to this type of event. Dustin's actually in the stream right now. That's hilarious. This is the most affordable ticket that you've ever been able to get to this event. And yes, it is the same training that we have charged a lot more for in the past. We're just putting more people together this time, so we're able to do it a little bit cheaper. For $2,000, you can come down here and get what Dustin is sharing with you. Okay. Shit. I mean, this seems stupid, like fucking retarded that somebody wouldn't come and spend $2,000 to have what you have received in the last 15 to 16 weeks. And thank you for trusting me, number one, enough with that initial $10,000 that you guys gave me. Right. And you also are paying to be inside of the Lead Ninja Mastermind as well. Mm-hmm. He's in the continuing education program. And before long, Dustin is going to be doing some training with other people in the group once he gets certified. You're not even certified yet, dog.
No, I'm not. That's my biggest problem is I'm getting myself in front of a camera.
I don't think it's a problem. I don't think you have a problem.
You're right.
Somebody that sells $3 million a year doesn't have a problem. Okay. But once you're right. Once you do face that fear and get through it and get desensitized, a whole different world's going to open up to you, especially from a follow-up perspective, right? Shooting text message videos and stuff like that you've heard me talk about. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, guys, have yourself an amazing day. Luke, is there anything else that you want to say before we take off to the people out there?
Thank you for all the time that you put in. I know that this isn't an easy thing to do, and I know that you do it because you like to do it, but thank you.
It's because of people like you that I can continue to do it. All right. I get bored with stuff. Everybody gets bored with stuff, right? But true joy, guys, comes from having an impact in somebody else's life. And I didn't give Luke a fish. We taught Luke how to fish. We provided the resources, and then Luke did the work. All right. There's been many other people that have come out to our events that have not had the same results that Luke had because they didn't put in the work. All right. I can't do the work for you. I can show you the tools. I can show you how to do it. I can tell you exactly what you need to do in order to get your subconscious and your conscious mind in line and how to communicate with people, but I cannot fucking do the work for you. So guys, get off your butts. There's 2 yous in the future. Okay? 1 you, this you does nothing different than you're already doing. And then there's another you that's going to do something about what they want in life. Another you that actually comes down to the April event. You spend 2 days down here. You invest your hard-earned money and you invest your time in getting better at what you do. Those 2 yous, those 2 guys are going to meet. You're going to be going to a call down the street, and that guy is going to be showing up at that call. Who's going to win? Who's going to win? The guy that did not go to the training is going to get smoked. You go up against Luke, he's going to take your lunch money. I can promise you. And so will I. So please come out and see us. We want to see more transformations like this, like forever and ever. Amen. Luke has got something now that he can even pass on to his kids, a whole new skill. And Luke will never, ever have to worry about money again. He'll never have to worry about making less than $250,000 a year again, ever. Think about that. Once you learn how to ride this bike, you get to ride it forever. I wish we could calculate the ROI on the $5,000 that was your portion of that room.
Right.
You
for
had
itself.
to.
That's all I know.
You had to have made at least 5 to 10 times your money back so far. Had to have.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Guys, have a great day. If you are listening on Spotify, please shoot over there, or on Apple Podcasts, please shoot over there and give us a review. Hey, if people wanted to reach out to you or find you on social, do you know what your handle is on social?
I only have a Facebook.
Facebook. Okay. So is it at Luke Claypool?
Yep.
Cool. Look him up, guys. You can also go to my friends list. I'm friends with him on Facebook. Until next time, go out and slay some dragons, ninjas. Love you. See you, Luke.
Thank you.
And